Billionaires buy superyachts, rare jewelry, and private islands. Trillionaires own entire nations. The Saudi royals, British monarchy, and Putin don't just have fortunes. They have entire economies at their fingertips. Their wealth isn't just money. It's oil-rich kingdoms, centuries of looted artifacts, and palaces that make Versailles look modest. Today, we're comparing the flashy excess of billionaires to the silent, unstoppable dominance of the world's most untouchable dynasties, and why trillionaires no longer need to impress anyone. Right now, there are about 3,000 billionaires walking the planet. But that number doesn't mean jack unless you understand the sheer, brain-melting scale of their wealth. Try this. If you blew $10,000 every single day since the day Jesus was born, that's 2,000 plus years, 739,000 days, you'd still have spent only $7.4 billion. And guess what? That's still $370 billion short of Elon Musk's current net worth. Let that sink in. 2 millennia of daily 5-figure splurges wouldn't even get you halfway to one guy's bank account. Here's the thing. The difference between $1 million and $1 billion is so insane, most people can't wrap their heads around it. Think of it like time. 1 million seconds is 11 days. 1 billion seconds? 31 freaking years. So, when we say someone is a billionaire, we're not just saying they're really rich. We're talking about people who can move stock markets with a tweet, influence elections through media empires, and buy entire cities. Literally. See, the average billionaire doesn't buy a boat. They buy custom superyachts. Take Jeff Bezos's Kourou, a $500 million 417-foot superyacht, so massive it needed a $75 million support yacht just for its helicopters and toys. It has 3 decks, a swimming pool that morphs into a dance floor, a 25-person crew whose sole job is to keep the champagne chilled and the caviar flowing. Meanwhile, other billionaires like Bill Gates splurge on a $124 million smart mansion called Xanadu 2.0, where guests are handed electronic badges the second they walk in, so the house can track their every move like a butler with Bluetooth. Lighting, temperature, even the music shift to match their personal tastes. And tucked inside his private library, a $30 million Leonardo da Vinci notebook, the Codex Leicester, casually displayed like it's a coffee table book from Barnes & Noble. That's insane, right? Well, wait till we talk about trillionaires. Now, no individual, outside comic books or memes or public records, has a personal net worth of $1 trillion. Instead, we're talking about families and rulers whose combined wealth or national funds break the trillion barrier. These are people like the House of Saud, the Saudi royal family, which controls an estimated $1.4 trillion fortune. Yes, trillion with a T. That's more than the GDP of some G20 countries. But there is something we must get out of the way right now. Sometimes for regular folks like you and I, the lines get a little blurry. We can't really tell the difference between luxury and real wealth. I mean, both billionaires and trillionaires can casually toss hundreds of millions at whatever they want, right? But trust me, even billionaires don't mix that up. So for the sake of this video, try to channel your inner billionaire. Now let's get one thing straight. Trillionaires don't lose $34 billion because of a Twitter beef with another billionaire president. That's billionaire drama. Trillionaires don't play in the comments. They play on a different level entirely. But here's the wild part. Despite all that distance in net worth and power, there is one thing a billionaire, a trillionaire, and even you have in common. No, not offshore accounts, not private jets. It's something way more primal. You all love a good mansion. Didn't see that coming, did you? You see, everyone loves a luxurious house. Maybe it's the marble floors, the Olympic-sized pool, or just the thrill of pretending you're royalty for a day. There's something hardwired in us that goes, yeah, this could be mine, when we walk into a place with 12 bathrooms and a heated driveway. But for billionaires and trillionaires, that feeling doesn't stop at could. For billionaires, owning a $50 million mansion isn't a milestone. It's just Monday. One of many properties in a life that never clocks out. We'll get to the trillionaire madness in a second. But first, Let's talk about what billionaires are doing with their money. Take Larry Ellison, co-founder of Oracle and full-time real estate collector. The man treats high-end properties the way others collect baseball cards. He bought 98% of the Hawaiian island of Lanai for around $300 million, then pumped hundreds of millions more into transforming it into a luxury eco-utopia. On Lanai, Ellison doesn't just own land, he controls the narrative. There's a Four Seasons resort, an organic farm, and enough privacy to make the CIA jealous. Then he set records in Florida by buying a $173 million estate in Palm Beach. 22 acres of beachfront that became the most expensive home ever sold in the state. Out in California, he spent over $100 million restoring a 39-room mansion in Newport, turning it into his personal art museum. Add to that his multiple Malibu beachfront houses and a Japanese-style estate in Silicon Valley. You get the idea. The man collects mansions like Pokemon. Now, Jeff Bezos. When he's not launching rockets or reshaping retail, he's on a property rampage that could make a Bond villain blush. In Miami, Bezos dropped a total of $237 million to scoop up 3 homes on the infamous Billionaire Bunker Island, buying one for $68 million, another for $79 million, and a third for $90 million. He might bulldoze a couple and merge them into a single supersized compound. Because why not? Over in Beverly Hills, he bought the Jack Warner estate for $165 million, complete with manicured gardens and guest houses that look like royal retreats. And in Hawaii? Of course, there's a $78 million 14-acre estate on Maui for when he needs to unplug, with cocktails and maybe a submarine. His $80 million in Manhattan condos overlook Madison Square Park, and his estate in Medina, Washington, sits right next to Bill Gates. Bezos's real estate portfolio isn't just expensive. It's like someone Googled best properties in the world and bought everything on page 1. Mark Zuckerberg may be the most introverted billionaire in the bunch, but his approach to real estate screams Fort Knox. His first place was a modest $7 million home in Palo Alto, but that didn't last. He quietly bought the 4 neighboring properties, totaling over $43 million, just to stop anyone from getting too close. Then he started building a massive 7-structure compound, estimated at $59 million. But the real showstopper is in Kauai, Hawaii, where Zuck now owns over 1,400 acres. He's reportedly building a $100+ million underground bunker complex with its own power plant, blast-proof doors, and more bedrooms than a boutique hotel. Even budget-conscious spenders like Elon Musk dipped into mansion mania before selling off his homes. Elon once owned a fleet of Bel Air mansions, one of which was Gene Wilder's old house, before pledging to sell everything off in a dramatic minimalist turn. Meanwhile, Mukesh Ambani, India's richest man, calls a 27-story vertical palace in Mumbai home. Antilia is estimated to be worth $1 to $2 billion, spans 400,000 square feet, and employs a 600-person staff to keep the lights on. It has a movie theater, spa, multiple gardens, 3 helipads, and whole floors just for car storage. And then there's Niall Niami's infamous The One in Los Angeles, a 105,000 square foot mega mansion with 21 bedrooms, a 50-car garage, a nightclub, and a jellyfish room. It flopped at its $500 million price tag and sold for a modest $141 million, proving that even billionaires have a limit on ridiculous. Still, all that wealth? Child's play once you enter the trillionaire leagues. When you're part of a royal family sitting on oil empires and sovereign wealth funds, mansions look more like cities. The House of Saud, for example, doesn't just run Saudi Arabia. They sit on a mountain of wealth worth trillions. Many of their palaces aren't just luxurious, they're absurd. Gold-plated ceilings, marble courtyards, private mosques, personal zoos, you name it. One of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's favorite residences is a sprawling 500,000 square foot estate in Riyadh, loaded with lush gardens, giant fountains, and guards posted at every entrance. That's where he keeps his $450.3 million Leonardo da Vinci's 500-year-old painting of Jesus. The same royal family is behind Neom, the $500 billion city being constructed in the desert. It's a mega project unlike anything on Earth, a futuristic playground where trillionaires don't just live, they design entire civilizations. For them, a palace is just an address. True power comes with a zip code no one else can touch. Over in the United Arab Emirates, the House of Al Nahyan is no less extravagant. Their official residence, Qasr al-Watan, literally Palace of the Nation, is so ornate they opened it to the public just to show off. Think massive domes covered in gold leaf, crystal chandeliers with over 350,000 Swarovski crystals, and architecture so grand it makes Versailles look like a starter home. The chandelier alone had to be assembled on-site because it couldn't physically fit through the palace doors. That level of excess isn't just about taste, it's about flexing on the global stage. And that's just their public palace. The private ones? Scattered across the UAE and beyond. Some are worth billions, and others double as luxury hotels when they're feeling generous. Take the Emirates Palace Hotel, for example. Owned by the royal family, it ranks among the world's most expensive hotels. Qatar's royal family, the House of Al Thani, is deep in the same game. The emir's primary residence in Doha is said to be worth $1 billion, with diamond and gold-encrusted decor. And that's just one of many. They've been buying up elite properties across London and Paris, including entire historic buildings like Cornwall Terrace, and converting them into palatial townhomes. One of their London penthouses at 1 Hyde Park is rumored to be worth over $250 million, making it a literal palace in the clouds. They also own top-tier hotels like the Royal Monceau in Paris and the Sheraton Grand in London. Owning a 5-star hotel? That's just Tuesday for a trillionaire. Even smaller dynasties flex hard. The House of Grimaldi in Monaco, one of the world's wealthiest mini-states, lives in the Prince's Palace, a cliffside 12th century fortress valued somewhere between $500 million and $1.5 billion. The place is dripping with Renaissance frescoes, gold-trimmed chambers, and artifacts that belong in a museum. But the real flex? They also basically own the entire country. From the Monte Carlo Casino to the Hôtel de Paris, the Grimaldis rule over a nation that doubles as a billionaire's theme park. To get a sense of just how big this gets, go back to Antillia in Mumbai. It's widely considered the world's most expensive private home for a non-royal. But compared to Saudi royal compounds, it looks like a bachelor pad. Some Saudi palaces take up entire districts in Riyadh. Al Yamama Palace, for example, is so vast it operates like a city, staffed by thousands, with its own mosques, government offices, and motorcades. King Salman's personal air fleet is based at a private airbase nearby, just in case he feels like flying out on a whim. Antillia has 3 helipads. That's cute. The royals have fleets of jets and whole airports. And while billionaires might own the penthouse, trillionaires own the skyline. But money isn't just about houses. It's also about horsepower. And when you're worth billions, your car might feel more like a luxury missile with leather seats. But hold that thought. First, let's zoom in on how the baby billionaires roll. We're talking about actual 19-year-olds with more money than the national budgets of entire countries. These guys are legit on the 2025 Forbes list. Here's the wildest part. Most of them didn't launch companies, build empires, or invent anything. They were simply born into absurd wealth and managed not to fumble the bag before turning 25. Take Johannes von Baumbach, for example. At just 19, he's already worth $5.4 billion. His job? Skiing competitively in Austria, while holding a stake in Boehringer Ingelheim, a 140-year-old pharmaceutical giant. While you were sweating over calculus, he was collecting dividend checks big enough to buy the entire ski resort. Then there's Kevin David Lehman, who inherited 50% of Germany's largest drugstore chain when he was just 14. Now 22, his net worth is around $3.6 billion. He doesn't run the business. He doesn't even show up. But his name is tied to a retail empire with over 4,000 stores. Let that sink in. This man became a billionaire before he could legally rent a car. And then you've got Ed Craven, the outlier. One of only 2 people on Forbes' list of youngest billionaires who actually earned his billions. He co-founded Stake.com, a crypto casino that pulled in $4.7 billion in revenue last year. He's 29. While the trust fund kids keep their spending quiet, Ed's out here flexing the fruits of his hustle. He owns some of Australia's most expensive homes, including an $80 million mansion on St. George's Road in Toorak, a $38.5 million estate on Orong Road, and several more in South Bank and Mount Macedon. Still, it's surreal that most of these young billionaires aren't tech bros grinding in basements or pitching VCs. They're heirs, heiresses, and crypto cowboys who skipped the college debt chapter and jumped straight to private island estate. No business plans, no Shark Tank moment, just generational wealth and a brilliant legal team. Now, let's find out what the big boys ride. To check out the rides of Trillionaires, we have to start with 2 guys you probably wouldn't expect to be on a Forbes list, but they might as well own the bank. When you're the supreme leader of a country, and the national treasury doubles as your personal piggy bank, luxury isn't a perk. It's the baseline. Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin don't just control their countries, they control where every dollar, ruble, or won goes. And while nobody really knows the full extent of their wealth, some reports say they've got access to assets that add up to trillions. And with that kind of unchecked power comes the urge to live like a Bond villain. While most of North Korea is stuck in survival mode, Kim's daily life looks like a GTA cheat code. Despite global sanctions, luxury gear somehow keeps showing up. High-end electronics, designer watches, the whole catalog. And don't even get started on his car collection. It's basically a secret showroom that would make Dubai's rich kids cry. He cruises around in a Mercedes Maybach S600 Guard, basically a tank in a tuxedo. He's also been spotted in a Rolls-Royce Phantom, Cadillac Escalade, and a Lexus, because even dictators like to switch it up. Oh, and Russia gifted him a couple of Oris Senat limos, including one decked out just like Putin's. Every ride in his garage screams, "Yes, I'm sanctioned, and I don't care." Now, speaking of Putin, this guy's not just a president. He's basically a trillionaire boss character. His ride of choice is the Oris Senat, Russia's own Rolls-Royce knockoff, but built like a tank and dripping in custom luxury. It's part intimidation, part national flex. But that's just what you see on the news. Trillionaires like Putin don't just live in homes. They build kingdoms. His secret residence at Cape Idokopas is one of the most guarded mansions on Earth. Perched above the Black Sea, this Putin's palace stretches across 168 acres of hyper-restricted land wrapped in secrecy and steel. At the surface, you get the usual dictator decor: gold-trimmed halls, private theaters, hookah lounges, wine cellars, and a casino big enough to rival Monaco. But underground, that's where the real madness lives. A bunker system over 100 feet deep, nuclear-proof walls, independent ventilation, and twin escape tunnels that lead directly to the sea. Above ground, it's armed checkpoints, dorms for hundreds of guards, a church, 2 helipads, and a skating rink. This isn't just wealth, it's obsession built in concrete. Officially, it's leased for research, but no one's buying that, except maybe the oligarch fronting the paperwork. In his private mansions, like the one in Marbella with a 22-car garage, he's probably got the full European catalog. Bentleys, Mercs, and maybe a Ferrari or 2 for weekend vibes. Because when you're that rich, why not pretend you're in Fast and Furious? For the billionaires, the must-haves are private jets, fancy cars, and maybe a yacht if they fancy the sea. Many billionaires stick to the tried-and-true Gulfstream or Bombardier private jets, typically $50 million sleek planes that spare them the TSA line. For example, Jeff Bezos has a Gulfstream G650ER, about $70 million, to hop between meetings, though given his wealth, he could buy a fleet of 100 and still have change. Mark Zuckerberg, as private as he is, racks up millions on private jet travel paid by Facebook, over $25 million on personal security and jets in one recent year. When it comes to yachts, billionaires compete in a who's got the biggest boat contest. The classic example, Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich's yacht Eclipse, 533 feet of floating fortress that cost at least $600 million. Eclipse is famous for its missile defense system, armor plating, and even an anti-paparazzi laser shield that can detect digital camera sensors and shine lights to ruin any photos. Overkill? For a billionaire, overkill is just standard kit. Abramovich's boat also has not one, but two helipads, a submarine, and a military-grade missile detection system. He basically built a warship to throw parties at sea. And guess what? Eclipse is only the world's second-largest private yacht now. The current title goes to a yacht called Azam, about 590 feet long, which actually belongs to a member of Abu Dhabi's royal family. Meanwhile, Amazon's Jeff Bezos made waves by ordering a 417-foot sailing yacht rumored to cost around $500 million. It was so tall, they considered dismantling a Dutch bridge to let it out, causing a media frenzy. Bezos eventually had the mast installed after moving it to spare the bridge. If billionaires treat themselves to nice vehicles, trillionaires treat themselves to fleets. For the Trillionaire class, one Gulfstream isn't enough. They have whole aviation wings. Example, the Saudi Royal Flight operates a fleet of Boeing 747s, 777s, and Airbus A340/A380s outfitted as flying palaces. King Salman of Saudi Arabia doesn't just have a private jet. He has a personal Boeing 747 Jumbo with a gold-trimmed interior, plus access to a Royal Airbus A380 Super Jumbo, reportedly configured with amenities like throne rooms and wellness spas. Fun fact, a Saudi prince once looked at the world's biggest passenger plane and thought, yeah, I'll take one for myself. And he did just that. He made a custom interior with a garage, stable, and concert hall on board, costing about $500 million. Now that's a flying palace. And that's a wrap. If this video blew your mind even a little, hit that like button so the algorithm knows you survived. And subscribe if you want more deep dives into the world of untouchable wealth, secret power, and the stories they don't teach in school. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.